Hi everyone, it's Gary Nicholson here for the Mountain Weather Information Service. This is your planning outlook video on Tuesday the 10th of July. It's all become a little bit messy at the moment. High pressure is still around, but bits of fronts getting into that, producing the murk and the dampness that Scotland is seeing at the moment. More of that in the next day or so. And then things changing more broadly as we go forwards. The Atlantic jet stream is coming back towards us, and it looks a more unsettled picture into the second half of the month. And one of the factors responsible for this is currently Tropical Storm Chris, which lies across the opposite side of the Atlantic off the eastern seaboard of the USA. That's going to move northwards and eastwards in the next few days, getting dragged into the jet stream and heading towards the British Isles as we go into the weekend. In the short term, though, we're not concerned with that. It's this fairly weak occluded front that's bothering us at the moment across Scotland through Wednesday. It's been around during Tuesday, and despite the presence of high pressure, it's produced a rather damp, murky picture, perhaps even more so than a few days ago it seemed to be the case. So Wednesday is still murky and damp, steady rain on for a few hours across the western and northwestern Highlands, drizzly damp conditions across the Cairngorms as well, not too much towards the southeastern Highlands, bits and pieces maybe Dumfries and Galloway, and perhaps just fringing into West Wales. Small risk of a shower breaking out down the Pennines and the lakes, but much of England looking dry through Wednesday. Not much wind around, and that'll be the case again into Thursday. The black dashed lines shown here just indicate the presence of troughs, and that's what could trigger off a few showers into Thursday. These chiefly across inland areas. It could be isolated heavy bursts and even some patches of drizzle and dampness again from early in the morning. Many places may well escape dry. Watch out for the odd burst of rain, despite still being under fairly high pressure. It's still a very slack pattern into Friday. We've not quite got high pressure over the top of us as we did a week or so ago. So it's all just allowing some instability to get into the atmosphere. Again, some troughs in place, which will bring a greater risk of showers. And these are heavier and perhaps thundery as the day goes on Friday. Again, quite hit and miss, but that risk of catching a thunderstorm Friday afternoon and evening looks quite possible. Pretty slow moving too if you do see them as the winds stay light, but by the time we go through into Saturday the southwesterlies will strengthen as fronts start to move in from the Atlantic. These are moving in ahead of that ex-tropical storm at this stage, just ordinary weather fronts really, but the wind picking up as a southwesterly may even nudge towards gale force over the far northwestern Scottish tops for a time on Saturday. Some rain coming in, some uncertainty on timing, but a cloudier damp day across the west and perhaps southwestern Highlands in particular. Some patchy rain may fringe onto western coasts elsewhere, broadly dry with higher cloud bases towards the Cairngorms, the borders and also the Pennines. Much of England and Wales may well get away with a decent day, small risk of an isolated shower into the afternoon. A humid feel though, and I think as we're going through Friday, Saturday and Sunday that humidity will be noticeable as we're just drawing in the air subtly from the south-southwest. Now the waving front which lies towards the west of Ireland is uncertain, and within that I think is the remnants of that tropical storm, the inherent moisture in the atmosphere, that being thrown towards the western coast of Britain then, and Ireland as well, with murky conditions around the coasts, possibly turning pretty wet across some of the western mountains. Timing and detail is tricky, but it is that general change of patterns. We lose high pressure and see weather fronts coming in from the Atlantic. That's the main story through this period. The risk of that low that's towards the north of Scotland, which I think more or less is the old centre of the tropical storm, the risk of that producing gale force winds, again, at least for part of the day on Sunday in the Highlands. Just stepping back and looking at the bigger picture as we go through into next week. First of all, this chart is over the weekend, and there's the remnants of that tropical storm becoming absorbed into the jet stream. Some models keep it as a slightly more defined centre, so one to watch still with the details. Always an uncertainty when these tropical systems get into the mix. But what we see, though, is an area of low pressure toward the northwest of us, and that's the one that will more or less have the role to play into next week's weather as a whole. Areas of rain or showers looking believable, something a bit more changeable than we've seen recently. Could be some slow-moving, heavy downpours in places, possibly thundery, some more organised bands of rain at times, interspersed with ridges of higher pressure, which might just allow things to briefly settle, but I think always the risk of further areas of low pressure trying to come back in from the Atlantic as next week goes on. So that's the pressure anomaly chart for the week as a whole averaged out, and the green colours northwest of Scotland indicate that risk of a lower pressure being nearby. It could be that the low is a little bit further southwest than that, but the overall theme, we've lost the orange colours which represent higher pressure, which have dominated so much in recent weeks. So a change of pattern as we're going into the second half of the month, and it may well be that much of the rest of July is that bit more mixed. So we'll see how things develop. Stay right up to date every single day on the Mountain Weather Information Service website. You can follow our social media feeds as well there. We'll update this planning video for you again on Friday. Thanks for watching today. Bye for now.